Welcome back to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series 2002 season here on JRTV. After the summer break, we are back with Winston Cup Series action from the New Hampshire International Speedway. It is the New England 300, race number 17 on the season. This starts the race for the championship, the second half of the season. We'll see which team and driver has what it takes to hoist that trophy at the end of 32 races here this season. I'm Joe Koski, and it's great to have Trey Bardo back in the booth after missing out on Michigan. And Trey, you missed a lot, Michigan, where we saw Keyshawn Richardson have a bad day after contact on pit road, and it dropped him closer to those drivers behind him. He still has the points lead, but drivers like Burnett, Evans, and Kukulon, some others like Atkins as well, are all starting to get back towards him, and Burnett is now within a race of a points gap off of Keyshawn Richardson. But Trey, they start 1-2 here today in New Hampshire, so those Roush boys that are up there bound for the championship, they have what it takes apparently.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't look like whatever happened at Michigan really affected Richardson much, because I left off with him dominating, and I come back with him for just next to dominating.
I mean, this race has kind of, this starting lineup, it's described how the first half of the season has gone. Roush Racing being so dominant with their cars 1, 2, 3, Burnett, Richardson, DeLello, and then right behind them, just a little bit behind, looking for something just a little bit more to contend, is Richard Childress Racing, and they start 4, 5, 6, and then right behind them, you have a Joe Gibbs Racing driver, which it seems like it's always just been one Joe Gibbs Racing driver right behind them. So Trey, if there's anything to describe the first 16 races of this 32 race season, it is the starting lineup right here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I don't think it can. I don't think he can get this, played out any better than what it just did. It's the top horse Roush, and RCR not that far behind. And like you said, JGR is just pretty much waiting in their wings, seeing what happens between these two teams. And Joe, with it being like this, I think the start of this race is going to be something to watch here.
Yeah, I'd watch Evans from that third row on the inside, trying to maybe make a three-wide move on DeLello and Atkins, because Evans knows with Burnett Richardson, the two drivers in front of him in points, he needs to beat them somehow, some way. And track position so big in New Hampshire, this initial start is going to be very big for Evans and those drivers behind the front two in the championship. Also watch a little bit further back, because while these big name teams and big name drivers are at the front of the field locking out the first three rows, right behind them around 10th place are some of the smaller underdog teams. Nathan Orman took his Husqvarna Motorsports car and qualified it inside the top 10 and 9th. Nathan Stapleton took his Chip Ganassi Racing Dodge and put it in 10th. Right behind him, Roberto Crown Jr. for Petty Enterprises put his car in 12th. And Jordan Edwards for DI's affiliate team, Fitz Bradshaw Racing, put it in 13th. By the way, all DI cars actually start behind that 83 here today at New Hampshire. So Trey, while the big name teams are showing themselves at the front, some of these smaller teams have put themselves inside the top 12, top 13 to start here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they're going to have, the race pace to keep up with some of these bigger teams and maybe even gain a couple of spots here on this initial restart initial start. And if we get any restarts in the race here, or if, maybe they just had the qualifying speed. So I'll be interested to see if, maybe they guys stick up with these ones, or they split out the pack a little bit.
And moving on with some more talks of how aggressive the start is going to be here at New Hampshire, because track position means so much. There are 3 drivers who lost a good amount of track position after qualifying. They were all set to start inside the top 20. And the 3 drivers going to the back of the field, the 1 of Anthony Hernandez, the 44 of Diego Yepes, and the 88 of Luke Rennie all start back in 40th, 41st, and 42nd here today at New Hampshire. So for Hernandez, Yepes, and Luke Rennie, Trey, they'll have to come from the back of the field to try and make their way up towards the front, back to about where they qualified.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not where they wanted to happen. And Joe, it always seems like with inspection, it's either all the cars get caught or none at all.
Yeah, it was weird. we had 3 that we talked about get caught, and then a 4th driver got caught. It was supposed to be Jude Martinelli's first ever start in the Winston Cup Series in that number 67. He qualified on speed, but unfortunately the car didn't pass tech inspection, so he ended up missing out on the race and to put Jack Carter in the 21 in. So inspection was just as crazy as we're expecting this race to be.
Yeah, it's strange, but I guess we'll have to see how those 3 that got caught but are still in it can make their way through this field, and it'll be interesting to watch those guys slice and dice their way through if they get the opportunity to, and it'll be even more interesting to see how the front of this field if they can get along, let's say.
Yeah, we'll see if the front of the field, especially those first three rows, if they can get along between the powerhouses of Roush Racing and Richard Childress Racing. As we move on to our Ford Fast Facts here for the New Hampshire International Speedway and our race breakdown. It's a clear, sunny sky day, 79 degrees, so a pretty warm day here in New Hampshire, 6-mile-an-hour wind in the northwest direction, and a small chance of rain at 10%. We should be just fine to finish all the laps here in New Hampshire. We are set to run 60 laps here, equaling 63.48 miles. It's a little bit unique because of how long this racetrack is. And the fuel window is 33 to 36 laps, so watch for that throughout this race. If we get some yellows early on, we got 2 early cautions last season. Will something like that happen again, or will it go caution free to where the pit strategy is normal? We'll find out during it. Now our track facts. This track is 1.058 miles in length with 12 degrees of banking in the turns and no banking on the straightaways. It's a very flat racetrack here in New Hampshire. The track was built in 1990, so it's a fairly new track because its first race here was held in 1993. This is only the 10th NASCAR Winston Cup Series race at the New Hampshire International Speedway, and for Hendrick Motorsports, they have won 6 of the 9 New Hampshire races run, including the last 3 New Hampshire races. Their best shot to maybe win today is going to be Justin Zeidel from 8th place. We'll see if he can try and get it done for Hendrick's 7th win at New Hampshire. They would have won 70% of the races if they can get it done here today. We'll see if that happens, or will it be one of the first 3 rows that gets it done. Roush Racing and Richard Childress Racing sweep the top 3 rows. We'll go down trackside to get the command to fire the engines up for the 17th race of the season.
Drivers, start your engines!
42 engines come to life, and we're rolling here at New Hampshire for 60 laps of action in the New England 300 in race number 17. Let's quickly go back to the 4th row on the inside. In 7th place, that's Chris Jericho, the number 18 Trey. Championship last season. What we saw last season during the summer months, they were his kryptonite of the season. Even in 2000, the summer months were his kryptonite. Well, so far this season, Pocono, Michigan, they did not go to plan. Can he try and turn around in the summer months here? Trey, he was one of the fastest cars in this race last season.
You'd like to think that they figured out the problem of the summer months, right? But, I mean, I guess only time's going to tell. I mean, so far with this qualifying position, it looks like it's going to be good. But like you said with Pocono, we thought it was going to be good, too.
Yep, but we know Joe Gibbs Racing has put some fast cars on the racetrack. Mathis Wilson's won the last 2 for Joe Gibbs Racing, trying to go for 3 in a row. He starts back in 14th place. That's Jericho's teammate. The pace car is in 60 laps of action. At the front of the field, it's the Roush guys. Matthew Burnett, Keyshawn Richardson are first and second in points. The lead to the green flag for 60 laps at New Hampshire. Well, Trey, Matthew Burnett did not really give anyone a chance, but maybe gives DeLello a chance in turn 3. Maybe some contact. The 2 winless Roush drivers going at it through 3 and 4 in lap number 1. Burnett from pole trying to lead the first lap for 5 bonus points, but his teammate DeLello might stop him from it, and he will at the line.
Did a 17 just get sent by his own teammate?
I think he did, and DeLello's not really in this championship battle. Burnett is, and Matthew Burnett really wanted to get that lap lead for 5 bonus points, because here comes his championship battle with Keyshawn Richardson. But Richardson couldn't get the gas down, and Burnett stays clear in second. Here's the battle behind those Roush guys. It's Atkins and the inside teammate Conrad Evans. Trey, these RCR guys would stay right on top of each other at the start of this race.
I mean, that's a good thing that they've gotten to, become more friendly to each other, right?
I guess so, but only time will tell. They're still near each other, so they can still make some contact. As Kukulon dives inside Evans, going for 5th place in turns 1 and 2, and should take that spot away. Justin Zeidel had a great start from the outside. From 8th place, got down in line 7th, and now going for some more off turn number 2, trying to push Kukulon by Evans, then get by the 3rd one himself. It was not a good start for Jericho on the inside in 7th place. He's dropping back as Jordan Stout, the other Roush guy, moves to the inside, the number 6. Edwards moving low, Nathan Ormond. Nolan Lawrence moving by Tim Gary. Roberto Crown Jr. in line, trying to bring Lathan Strickland up towards the front with them. And this battle right here, Zeidel trying to get to the inside of Evans, trying to take it away, and up in front, the Roush guys going at it with Burnett having the 2nd spot, but Richardson right on his bumpers to exit 2.
The 24 now cleared Evans. Not yet. He still gets that run on the top side going down the backstretch here, but you got to think sooner or later the 31's got to concede the position to the 24 here. But if he does, Joe, there's a whole line of cars waiting to take that next spot.
Yeah, you have Jordan Stout, Chris Jericho right behind. Jordan Edwards is there. You have Nolan Lawrence there as well. As Richardson looking out for second place into turn number 1 on his teammate Matthew Burnett. But Burnett so far still holding tough, but the 17 definitely looks slower than the 99 and the 30 behind. We'll see if Richardson can make a pass on Burnett. And if Richardson doesn't, Trey, if he takes too long, can Justin Atkins find a way around in that number 30 car, try and move by both those rounds, guys, and make RCR a threat? 3 wide. Stout's left the track. Jericho's lining up into both.
Still on each other.
Stout and Evans in the 6 runs the third off the racetrack, and they're still 3 wide off turn number 4.
I think they were rubbing paint the entire way through that set of corners there.
And they might not be done, Trey. They're still 3 into turn number 1, and Jericho's still sliding up, trying to get the power down on corner exit, pushing the 6 up near the 31. They make contact again off turn number 2.
You don't think your car's trying to make it 4 wide there, do you?
I hope Nolan Lawrence doesn't try to make it 4 wide, because that, I mean, if they can barely make it 3 wide, Trey, how are they going to make it 4? They're still, look at this!
He's going to make it 4! He tried to get there, but not quite. I don't know how they're keeping it clean.
Well, they're barely keeping it clean, but they are keeping it clean. What a great 6-car battle for this position around 7th place. Stout trying to keep it on the outside. Jericho, the 31 finally falls behind those two, but they're still going to be 3 wide because Tim Gary and Jordan Edwards look. But now the 31 might be able to get down in front of the 83, and if Jericho isn't too careful here, Nolan Lawrence may make it 3 wide on him.
I don't know how he managed to keep that one with all cars still running there. It was pretty close for a while. I bet you Evans isn't the happiest, but kudos to those guys for doing it. And Joe, you see what's happening for 3rd place up there?
I do see that. Justin Atkins, just out of camera frame, moved by Keyshawn Richardson, the points leader. So Atkins up to 3rd, and he's bringing Sebastian Kukulon, his teammate, to the inside with them. So here comes Kukulon now for 4th place, and Richardson now kicked back to 5th. After getting put to the outside by 2 of the RCR guys. And here comes another Chevy driver, Justin Zeidel, trying to get Hendrick their 7th win here in New Hampshire, and so far having a pretty good day in these first 8 laps.
Yeah, he said he said it. He really only blames himself for the way his car's been running this season, and I mean, looks like they're slowly starting to get that 24 back up to where we've seen it in the past. And if he can get a good finish out of this, I think that'll bring a big, boost of morale for everyone there around that 24 garage. And we'll just have to see how everything fizzles out there for them. And Joe, it's how about owner versus employee racing?
I was about to say, there was almost some contact between car owner and driver. Jordan Edwards, the driver, Lathan Strickland, the car owner. They almost made contact off turn number 2. Luckily, they kept it clean, because otherwise that could have been an awkward meeting on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they're going to make it. But Edwards falling back on the outside. The A3 doesn't have the long run pace at the moment, but a car that maybe does have some pretty good pace in the long run. Eli Bright was lamenting over his practice result, his qualifying result, but he's moved up pretty nicely in the number 8 Budweiser Chevy in these first few laps here as we're coming around to complete the 10th lap next time by.
Yeah, he's slowly slicing his way through this field right now. Now he's got to go catch his, what'd you say, his affiliate team? His part teammate?
Yeah, his...
whatever you call that?
Weird teammate type, type thing with Jordan Edwards on the outside. He's fading back now behind Matt as well, trying to get back up towards the front. Strickland trying to get by Berta Crown Jr., and here comes Eli Bright already inside the top 20, going for a top 15 on his affiliate teammate Jordan Edwards. And then Evan Hunter, home race for Evan Hunter here at New Hampshire, trying to make a good race out of it. He didn't really qualify that well, was outside the top 20 to start, but Trace moved up nicely inside the top 20 to 17th place.
Yeah, definitely slowly moving his way up there, as well as these guys are really starting to bunch it up again. I'm afraid that Eli's going to try to make a move here on the bottom. We've seen enough 3 wide today, as we almost just saw more, actually.
Yes, we did. Matthew Burnett got put to the outside by Atkins, who moves through to 2nd. Atkins' teammate Kukulon moves through the 3rd, and then Keyshawn Richardson is going to finally pass Matthew Burnett, move his way back up to 4th, and here comes that number 24, Justin Zeidel, hunting for a top 5 spot here to the inside Matthew Burnett, and these guys keep battling. Chris Jericho in 7th, and Nolan Lawrence in 8th. Jordan Stout in 9th can also catch up, and Evans back in 10th, trying to cling on, but so far he's under fire from Tim Gary in that number 10 car. So the field kind of spreading out here, but there's still some pretty good battling up inside the top 10s. Here's this battle for 5th place. Zeidel trying to get by Matthew Burnett.
Joe, it's very difficult to pass here because the top side gets such a good run, and you could say side by side for multiple laps at a time. Just like here, you can see the 17 working on the top side of the 24, but I think the 24 is going to get the advantage here because he had the help from Jericho on the bottom. But I mean, you could honestly stay side by side with someone for multiple laps at a time, and the only thing that's really going to do is hurt your tires there for the long run, and it seems as if the 17 might be dying off here.
I was going to ask you, how hard is it to make a pass at a track like New Hampshire when the guy on the outside can really kind of bog you down, kind of keep you pinned down to the inside. And with so little banking here, it's very hard to turn the car while also getting the power down. Those rear wheels could easily spin.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he started on pole, Joe, and he's fallen back quite fast. He was pretty much losing a position, if not 2 positions a lap at the moment. And you got to think it's just from him battling up front for this entire time. And now his car's finally catching up. And I mean, he's even catching Conrad Evans, who started near the front as well.
Yeah, we had seen Burnett start on pole, as you mentioned. He didn't get to lead a lap in this race here today. DeLello took it right off the start. But then we saw when Burnett sailed in second place, he was the one holding up the train of drivers like Keyshawn Richardson, Justin Atkins, Sebastian Kukulon. And now that number 17, as he's gotten further back in the field, he continues to drop. His third and final Roush teammate, Jordan Stout, moves to the inside, and he was the lowest starting Roush car. Now he's going to be the 3rd highest running Roush cars. He's trying to get by Matthew Burnett. And all the while, here comes Evans to then get to the inside of the 17 as well. So Matthew Burnett, he started this race well, Trey, but that long run speed is just not there. You mentioned at the start of the show who has the long run pace to go 60 laps here today. Well, look, take that number 17. They need to make some really big adjustments on their pit stop to try and get themselves into the range of the top 5 guys again.
Yeah, it's definitely the last thing that could pretty much save this 17 team here is the pit stops whenever we do come to them. As you can see, I think he got a little tight going into a turn 4 there, and it kind of backed him up a little bit there, and it slowed up Gary as well. But yeah, the pit stops is definitely going to need something to be done drastically, because you can just see these guys are just absolutely driving by him like he's got bricks in the back of his car.
Well, now Tim Gary moving for a top 10 spot, and if Gary can get to the inside and keep it to the inside, then he has other drivers coming behind as Gary sent it in deep. Strickland goes up the track behind them. Now Gary continuing to send it up the racetrack, trying to get by Burnett. The 17 still falling back, and he might fall outside the top 10. So from pole position and within the first 20 laps, he may be outside the top 10. Gary moving low for 10th place. Roger Crown Jr. hanging around the front. Mathis Wells, Eli Bright trying to come back up towards the front. Edwards is in line. Evan Hunter is back there as well, so it's a long train of cars. Gary is through to 10th place. Burnett back to 11th, but still needs to find a way in line, and at the moment still hasn't found the way. Down to the bottom. Strickland's going to go 3 wide in the middle.
I thought he was about to shut the door on the 43 there, and something might have happened, but maybe his spotter told him 1 second before disaster happened, and Strickland was able to eject out of that one there, but he's all over the back of the 17. Might have actually sent him a little bit.
Oh, we're looking 4 wide
we're
here.
looking 4 wide. I don't like this.
Eli Bright makes a big move on Mathis Wells and Lathan Strickland, who was trying to make a move on Matthew Burnett. Eli will back out of it, give Wells and Strickland the room, as now here's the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. I mean, this is basically the whole field on back, battling for 11th place. There's Roberto Crown Jr. trying to take it away. Meanwhile, at the front, the gap between DeLello and Atkins is coming down. The 30 car is the fastest car in the racetrack. Atkins trying to get up to the lead, but still 4/10ths back as we complete the 20th lap. Crazy racing just outside the top 10. Roberto Crown Jr. through to 11th. Wells through to 12th. Here's the battle for 13th and 14th and 15th as Burnett trying to find a way down in line in front of the DEI guys, but Eli Bright with the power down the straightaway might keep it to the inside. Does on Matthew Burnett in the number 17.
I think Strickland keeps shoving the 17 into the corner. I mean, Joe, they get really close to each other on corner entry, and then all of a sudden you just see the 17 get a little squirrely going out of halfway through the turn there. And I'm kind of curious if maybe, Strickland's trying to beat that DeWalt logo off the back of his car, or, maybe it's just something else.
Maybe he doesn't like DeWalt tools. Is that it? Do you think he's
saying
something about DeWalt tools? He doesn't like them?
It definitely could be it, Joe. But you know what? I'm not going to put words into Lathan's mouth. Maybe we'll go with that. He doesn't like the DeWalt tools.
Well, he's finally got to the inside of Matthew Burnett, and that number 17 continues to fall. He's back to now 14th, and he's going to make it 15th as Lathan Strickland will move to 14th. And then Evan Hunter's ticket inside the top 15 is right there in front of him, and now to its outside, it's Matthew Burnett. He got by Jordan Edwards, and trying to get by Matthew Burnett. Behind them, still a great battle with Nathan Orman, Mitchell Collins, Jose Mills. There's Ronald Kennington, the 11. Brett Seaver, the 25. His teammate Keegan Thompson. Nathan Barrett, newly inside the top 35 in orange points, trying to keep it. Saban Oscar moving up nicely from his starting spot. Luke Rennie came from the back of the field. He's up nicely with the 44 via Pez. They're all moving up inside the top 30. Jay Reynolds not had a great week. It continues. Fitzwater's back here. Laura Chung is back here in the 9. There's Jack Haas in the 77. Really good in practice, not so good in qualifying. He's moved up, though, from his starting spot. Riley Spurley-Tube. There's Roger Ray. He's outside the top 35 in orange points, trying to get it back. Hunter Reed and Anthony Hernandez is not recovered from failing inspection. If Anderson Reed and Jack Carter is there, Nathan Stimpson has dropped from 10th place to 39th. You have the 4, the 40, and the 41. So, Trey, that is the 4 Chip Ganassi Racing Dodges, 39th through 42nd here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. They're really struggling. But hey, look at this RCR right here. Second and third, chasing down the Roush guy at first, and then you have this group of 3 cars right here, kind of waiting in the wings to see what happens.
Yep, in a battle for 5th place, Justin Zeidel, Chris Jericho, and Nolan Lawrence might be going at it here. And we saw Jericho last season didn't have the best car at the start of the race, but after the pit stop was made on the longer run at the end of the race, he really came alive, passed a lot of cars, probably passed the most cars on the racetrack, and moved up to within 0.4 of a second of the leader at the end, but just ran out of laps to make it work. He almost got 2nd place in the race. He got 3rd. Well, now he has to try and get by Zeidel to maybe run down the front 4, which is Roush, RCR, and Roush, with 2 of the RCR cars running down the main Roush car. DeLello's led every lap so far from his 3rd place starting spot, but he has his hands full with possibly Atkins and Kukulon coming just behind him, and Trey within about 5 laps. Pit stops will also start for these drivers.
So, Joe, you're these 2 RCR guys here. You're just out of the reach of the Roush, who's leading at the moment. It's been leading since lap 1. What do you do for pit stops?
You almost think you have to try and undercut, right? Get those tires on sooner and try and leap them in pit road, because we've seen how hard it is to pass on the racetrack. They've kind of stalled out right here. They got to 0.3 back, and they can't really get much closer. I have to think if you're those 2 RCR guys, you try some sort of undercut. Try to get the track position and make those guys beat you on the racetrack rather than you having to beat them on the racetrack.
Well, we'll have to see if then maybe they're thinking what you're thinking, or they're listening in right now. And we'll have to see what they end up doing here, because, I mean, Joe, these 3 guys, it might have closed in a very small amount, if any at all, that time around. It did close in about, what was that? Would you say half a tenth?
Half a tenth about, a little bit more. But, yeah, half a tenth is the margin that was gained at that time. And as we're coming up to pit stops, we're very, very nearly at the midway point with DeLello, Atkins, and Kukulon running under a blanket for the race lead. Let's go to our Advanced Auto Parts question of the week. Get out of the way. Last week, Trey, while you weren't here, we had asked how many points should the race winner receive, and should it change at all? And shockingly, I'm kind of shocked about this. The fans said that it should actually stay the same. It shouldn't increase at all.
What did you think it should be?
I thought it should be a little bit higher, because currently the base points that the winner gets is only 5 more than what 2nd place gets. So I think there should be a little bit more, incentive to go for the win.
You get the money, though.
You do get the money, but the points are nice too when you're going for a championship.
Yeah, I guess you got a point with that one there. I guess I could see both sides of that one, why the fans wanted to say the same. That way, I mean, if you have 1st place and 2nd place finishing 1-2, the chase, the championship could still be within not that, many points of each other, whether you give them more points. And then also, I could see why more points would also be a good idea, because, I mean, you won the race, so you feel like you should get, the most benefit from that.
Well, let's get to this week's Advanced Auto Parts question of the week, as this is also going to kind of focus on points. So currently, the leader of the most laps gets 5 bonus points, and leading a lap gets 5 bonus points for drivers as well. The question here this week, should there be any other bonuses for these Winston Cup Series drivers? Should maybe the fastest lap of the race get some bonus points? Should maybe the pole winner get some bonus points? Should it be both, or should neither get any bonus points?
So it was pole winner, and what was the other one?
Fastest lap of the race.
Oh, yeah, both.
All right, so you think both should,
yeah, I mean,
small
pole's
incentive,
pretty...
5-10 points?
I would maybe 1 point. I mean, it doesn't have to be major, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the pole, and we've seen today that even if you get the pole, doesn't mean you're going to win the race, right?
Yep.
I mean, our pole sitter today absolutely fell off. He's barely inside the top 20 at this point. Yeah. And then, I mean, the fastest lap it's nothing really major. It's just that, wow, look, you ran the fastest lap, and especially at a place like Talladega or Daytona where you could ride in the back and still get fastest lap. It doesn't really mean much, but it's still, something like, wow, look at me, I set the record for the day.
Well, so far, Trey, as we complete the 33rd lap, no one making the move to pit road. However, Jericho made the move by Zeidel, so moved Jericho to 5th, Lawrence up to 6th, Zeidel back to 7th, so he lost 2 spots in that. Evans got put high, Stout is by him, and Tim Garrett's trying to get by him. But here's the big question. Who was the first to make the move into pit road? DeLello has the lead, Atkins and Kukulon are right with them. Will any of these first 3 blink, or will it maybe be the points leader Keyshawn Richardson to make the first move into pit road? So far, as we come around and complete the 34th lap, no one at the front is making the move to pit road.
So it makes you kind of wonder, maybe the leader's kind of waiting for 2nd and 3rd place to figure out when they want to go, and 2nd and 3rd's like, well, we're not going to go till you go.
Yeah, It's a weird waiting game. Who can blink first and who can keep their eyes open the longest? Well, we're about to see soon because they're getting to the end of their tanks of fuel, but the front runners are pushing it the distance. And another thing could be if a yellow comes out, you don't want to be on pit road, get trapped a lap or two down with how small this racetrack is. So that could also be another reason these drivers are waiting. But I'm really shocked that no one in the field is coming down pit road.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, they're spread out enough to where you could kind of base your pit stop off of, a couple guys ahead of you there, except for that major group right there. But yeah, it's very strange with these leaders, especially with, Justin really closing in on the 97 here within the last couple laps. So you'd have to expect something soon to happen.
Well, they're staying out even longer, and our initial thoughts were fuel window 33 to 36 laps. Well, that's possibly changed since the last time we were here. Maybe the technology's gotten better with fuel use in these cars. I don't know, but they've now gone 36 laps, and so far no one's made a move to pit road. So obviously they can go a little bit longer than what we were expecting.
Maybe around lap 40.
Looks like maybe now Kukelan's running a little bit higher. Maybe Atkins and DeLello are coming in first.
That was a little sketchy there, wasn't it?
It was, but Kukelan will stay out, get 5 bonus points. Keyshawn Richardson is in. Chris Jericho's coming in. Tim Gary, Math as well. So we have some strategy here as some cars come in sooner, some stay out longer, trying to overcut and maybe avoid any of the mess that might be caused on pit road on this first rundown. DeLello and Atkins are in. We'll have to see who can beat who off of pit road here, and will anything change as they come down? As you can see, some of the drivers back there staying out, and now as we go here, are the leaders come down now? Kukelan staying out even longer. So these drivers are still going.
Eli Bright staying out as well as Evan Hunter. I'm surprised they're stretching it that long.
Yeah, they are going pretty far, but now the question is, it looks like the 97 has kept it ahead of the 30, but where do some of the others come out, as Atkins has actually lost some ground to Zachary DeLello on pit road. So that's why maybe undercutting could be good, but we'll have to see now. These rest of the drivers that have stayed out even longer, can they come in on this 39th lap? It looks like Kukelan has finally had to yield to pit road. Nolan Lawrence will yield to pit road. Eli Bright in the number 8 will come down. Evan Hunter in the 36. And there is Zachary DeLello, the race leader, coming back around. We'll have to see if he can beat that number 29 and some of the others that run towards the front off of pit lane.
Yeah, the big thing that might help 30 here is that these slower guys that still have to get up the speed coming off of the pit road, it might slow up your leader here, but it'll be close to see as this is going to get closer. I think Jericho's going to get the run. Now, can 24 run him back down?
Keyshawn Richardson, Trey, had a really bad pit stop. Remember, he was in the first group to come down, but he actually lost ground to the 6, the 24, and the 18. So Richardson now back to where this battle was for around 10th place. That's where he is right now. So the 99 lost a lot of ground on pit stops.
Where's the 29? He's going to
cycle out to second, it looks like.
He might try to dive it in. He's not going to be there.
Yeah, he's not going to be that close, but I think he's going to be closer than his teammate Justin Atkins. So as we come around now to complete lap number 40, we'll have 20 laps to go. Kukelan trying to get heat in his tires so he can try and stay in second place and then maybe run down the 97, because remember, the 29 now has 2-lap fresher tires than those 2 cars around him. So if it stays green to the end, those 2-lap fresher tires could play into that number 29 of Kukelan.
When was the last time we seen overcut work?
Yeah, it normally doesn't work, but here today, for some strange reason, it worked for Sebastian Kukelan. But I mean, it's really weird for the RCR guys, right? Because Kukelan, if he stayed out longer and he gained time, well, Atkins came out to Lello and he lost time. So what's the reasoning in that?
I wish I could answer for you, man. I truly don't know. I mean, clearly they were just on 2 different strategies there, and Kukelan stayed out a lot longer than you and me were expecting him both, because he went 2 more laps longer than everyone else did pretty much. And I mean, it gained him 1 spot, but he lost almost a whole second. I mean, it was a whole second on the leader.
Yeah, it's just a weird mix, because you would expect if Atkins, it's just weird because Atkins was right with Kukelan. They were all on top of each other. Now as they exit pit road, DeLello played the same strategy as Atkins and pulled away from Atkins, and Kukelan played a completely different strategy and was with Atkins at the end anyway. So something with RCR and pit road just didn't work out for Justin Atkins, because you expected that 29, fell within a second back. Atkins should have at least stayed with DeLello there with the same strategy as 97.
And the part that also hurts is that I don't even think, are those 2 catching? Because I think they lost last time around, and this time around they're still losing pace to this 97. So, I mean, it maybe they're looking more for the end of the run type of a deal, right? And because I mean they did gain quite a bit of time by the time we came down for pit stops, but that also took them 35 to 40 laps.
Yeah, they don't have that time here at the end of the race because pit stops went so long into the race. Kukulon pit around, lap 39. There's only about 20 laps to go when he makes that pit stop, so he only has a 20-lap run ahead of him in that number 29. That time it stabilized between the 97 and the 29, so possibly now Kukulon's gotten his tires up to temperature, and maybe he'll start running faster than DeLello. Another big factor is lap traffic. Sarah Kirchner is there. Nathan Baird had a very poor pit stop. He's also down here. So is Ronald Kennington and the 4 of Jamie Stanford Jr., the 41 of Jason Albert. I don't think he'll catch the 41 or the 71, or maybe even the 4 or the 11, but definitely the 22 and the 40 are ahead and could slow up Zach DeLello here as he starts to run them down with now 15 laps to go. And right there, I believe the 29 gained about a tenth of a second.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it, right? These lap cars aren't damaged or anything, so they're up there as fast as those guys can go. So it won't be as easy to pass these as, say we come up to a lap car at Daytona, which, I mean, that's not saying much because these guys have trouble with lap cars there too. But, I mean, you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yep, yeah, exactly. It's going to be harder because these drivers are still racing with completely clean race cars. They have not been damaged at all during this event. We'll see what Sarah Kirchner does in that number 40. She is currently in 42nd position. Does she fight DeLello stand the lead lap, or does she yield to our race leader in the number 97? Looks like DeLello will pull to the inside with the power of the Roush Ford, move to the inside of Sarah Kirchner and try and get that spot and put her one lap down, and it looks like Kirchner pulls out of the way, lets 97 go, so DeLello gets a one lap car in between he and second place Kukulon with now 13 laps to go. Kukulon did gain because of that, but it wasn't enough to where he's going to run him down. We'll talk about a little bit of drivers that are a little bit further back. Jericho's back in 4th place, so he's moved up nicely. Zeidel settled in 5th. Nolan Lawrence is currently in 6th, so a good day for him for Evernham Motorsports. Right behind him is Jordan Stout in the number 6 car. Tim Gary is now up inside the top 10 in 8th. Keyshawn Richardson is now in 9th, so he dropped back on pit road, but he has about a second gap to the next car, Conrad Evans, who's in 10th in the 31. Strickland Eli currently in 11th and 12th. Then you have that number 12, Mitchell Collins. He's moved up nicely. Evan Hunter inside the top 15. Brett Sierra also inside the top 15. Luke Rennie came from the back. He's up to 16th. And Bertrand Crown Jr. still 17th, with Jordan Edwards, Matthew Burnett back in 19th. And Diego Yepes, also from the back of the field, is up inside the top 20. Orman's back in 21st. Wells is back in 22nd. You see Anthony Hernandez. He came from the back of the field, is up to 23rd. Some drivers that have lost ground, like Keegan Thompson, back in 28th. Fitzmar is still stuck back in 30th. And we already talked about some of these drivers that are a little bit further back, how they have lost ground, right, the 22 and the 11. At the front, DeLello now pressuring that number 22 of Nathan Baird, trying to put him a lap down. As Kukulon gains to 1.2 seconds back with 10 to go at the line, but Trey DeLello now moving by Nathan Baird. So as 97 moves around these 2 lap cars, Kukulon also is going to have to get around them in an efficient manner to keep touch with that number 97 in case 97 fades back to him in these final 10 laps.
The 29, was he the lowest starting RCR guy?
He was back in 6th place.
And then DeLello or the 97 started 3rd?
Yeah, he was the lowest starting. Well, the lowest starting of the top 3 Roush cars.
Yeah, maybe number 3 is a lucky number today.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Kukulon can get up there and make it a battle of the 3s here at New Hampshire. As DeLello, though, still has a pretty comfortable gap, 1 second over that number 29, and a lap car between them with now 9 laps to go. Kukulon really has to gain a lot in these laps, and he's not gaining enough. It's 1.1 seconds. He would have to gain, Trey, over a tenth a lap to have a shot at that number 97 at the end of this race, and that includes having to pass Nathan Baird in all this.
Hey, Joe, it's never over till it's over. You know that.
Oh, we all know that. Something could happen to the 97, something can happen in front of the 97, something can happen to Nathan Baird to move him out of the way, so you never do know.
No, you never know, and I'm curious to see how this is going to end if he gained. So, I mean, these guys pretty much had clean laps, and the 29 still can gain on the 97, but like you said, I don't think he just has enough time, plus he has to get around that 22.
If he can get around Baird in an efficient manner, maybe he has a shot, because he's still getting a little bit of dirty air from that 22 in front as well, which could be slowing him up just a little bit as well, but it's a second gap with 8 laps to go. He really needs to start pushing it to catch DeLello, who has dominated here today. He is one of 2 Roush cars not to win so far this season. He's trying to join his 2 teammates in the winner's club, but right there, that was a big lap for Kukulon with 7 laps to go. Gain almost 0.2 of a second in that 1 lap.
Yeah, that was a huge lap, especially still being stuck behind this lap car. That's crazy.
If he can get by Nathan Baird, he has a realistic shot now at getting to DeLello. I don't know about passing DeLello because catching is one thing, passing is another, but he could make it a show in these final 6 or so laps as he cuts to Nathan Baird. Can he get around him in these first few corners? They catch him again, about another 10th and a half, cut off of the lead with 6 to go. He has to get by Nathan Baird now, though, and this number 22, he's now looking low. He has to get him into turn 3 right here.
He's got to, hopefully he built a run. He's going to go to the inside here and definitely going to have to send it, which he does, and he's there, still there, pushing up a little bit maybe. He's still there. Can he get the corner exit he needs?
Cleared him.
He kind of had to shallow it off a little bit, so that might hurt him.
Yeah, but he didn't lose much. He stabilized the gap. It's about 3/4 of a second with now 5 laps to go. So if he can gain that 10th and a half that he's been gaining each lap, he'll be there at the end of this race to battle with DeLello, who's dominated the day. Zachary DeLello has led the most laps here in this race. He has dominated. He's led every lap except for the pit cycles where Sebastian Kukulon took over. So it's the 2 drivers trade that have led laps today, going at it in the New England 300 with now 4 laps to go. 97 of DeLello trying to fend off that number 29 of Kukulon, but the gap between them came down by a 10th again.
This 29 is going to make him work for his win right here. I mean, Joe, he is catching fast right now.
Yes, it's about a 10th and a half every lap, but he needs more than a 10th, Trey, and I think he knows that he has to start pushing really, really hard to get up here to DeLello in these final 3 laps, but definitely he's making DeLello work for this race victory as he comes off turn number 4. He sees 3 laps to go. He is catching Jamie Stanworth Jr., but I think the Ford Trey is just far enough ahead to where that 97 won't have to worry about Stanworth.
He's catching tenths a time here, Joe. This is crazy. I mean, look at the gap. You could visibly see it closing in.
Those 2 lap first tires, Trey, I think they're finally starting to come around for this number 29 of Kukulon. But can he find a way to get around him in these final 2 laps? Which are coming around to 2 laps to go for Zachary DeLello and the number 97. Kukulon gaining in the 29, but not close enough for a move yet. 2 laps to go for Zachary DeLello. Once again, not quite a 10th that time. He did gain, but not quite enough. Battle for 4th is going on. Jericho's been caught by Justin Zeidel. Great battle for 7th. It's Stout, Gary, Richardson, Evans, all under a blanket. Even Lathan Strickland, Eli Bright are right there at the end of this one. But coming around to the white flag, Zachary DeLello has 1 mile more to win from 3rd starting spot here at Loudon, New Hampshire. There is the white flag for the 97.
So he just needs 1 good clean lap here, and to hope to not have anything happen with that lap car in front of him. But that 29 is absolutely pushing. You got to think he's going to try to send it or something going in this final corner. But Joe, I don't think there's going to be enough time.
If Kukulon had 5 more laps, he possibly gets around that number 97 of DeLello and battles them. But today, it is Zachary DeLello's day through turns 3 and 4. He dominated from 3rd starting spot. He'll come off turn number 4. His first victory of the season. Zachary DeLello claims New Hampshire. And now we await those big battles behind. Zeidel beat Jericho at a photo finish, and look at that mess of cars.
That was an interesting battle right there. Oh, they're all over each other.
Well, Zach DeLello's day in New Hampshire, as Trey, he was definitely the dominant force. He led over 55 of the 60 laps here today.
You think he was getting a little nervous seeing that 29 get bigger and bigger in the window?
Oh, I think he had to be, right? I mean, he probably knew that 29 had fresher tires, and seeing him get closer, he's like, well, if he gets here, I don't know if I'll be able to hold him off, but he did just enough. The fastest car in practice, the 3rd fastest car in qualifying, is the fastest car here today at New Hampshire.
Bet you on the 29 radio they were doing the Jaws music.
Yeah.
But sadly, it's the boat's day to win.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not quite enough. Maybe that Jaws thing would have worked out if there were 5 more laps, but for Zachary DeLello, it was just the right amount of laps as he claims victory here in New Hampshire by about 3.5 tenths over Kukulon, who will gain points here today with a nice 2nd place result. 3rd place goes to number 30 of Justin Atkins, a very solid day to get himself back up towards the championship fight. Justin Zeidel, a top 5 for Hendrick. He has to be really, really pleased with the speed as he passed Chris Jericho in the last mile of this race. Jericho left himself for a top 5, but definitely a really good result for their number 18 team, kind of rebounding after the 2 bad races they had at Pocono and Michigan. Then 6th place, another great run for Evernham Motorsports with Nolan Lawrence in that number 19. Jordan Stout ends up in 7th, just edging out Tim Gary in 8th. Conrad Evans moved to 9th in the last lap, moving Lathan Strickland up to 10th with them. Richardson faltered to finish in 11th place, just outside the top 10 in that final lap. He beats Mitchell Collins to the line as Collins passes Eli right in the last lap. Very good day for Evan Hunter, moving up from his poor starting spot to get a top 15 and 14th, and Brett Sierra gets a top 15 at number 25. Luke Rennie from the back of the field, he started 42nd here today, but ends up in 16th place. Roberto Crown Jr. ends up in 17th, really holding on to the track position he had all day long. His teammate Yepes comes from the back of the field to get 18th, so Yepes started way back of the field, but gets a good day out of it. Matthew Burnett from pole falls to finish in 19th, and Mathis Wells could not make it 3 wins in a row as he gets 20th in that number 20 car. We have the one of Hernandez in 21st. He all started at the back. So Trey, the 3 cars that started tail end of the field from inspection, they all finished in the top half of the field. Jordan Edwards, number 83, finished just behind him. Jay Randall moved up decently from his poor starting spot. Nathan Orman, not the best of days, but still a very decent day. But with where he started, he would have wanted a lot better. Noah Clifton, the top 25. We look down here. Keegan Thompson, Zachary Fitzwater Sr. both finished just inside the top 30. Not the days they were looking for here in New Hampshire. And we look down here at the bottom of the field. Some of these drivers that nearly were lap cars, like Ronald Kennington, Jamie Stanford Jr., and then 2 cars that did fall lap down. Nathan Barrow was running well during the day, but not the finish he was looking for. He just moved inside the top 35 owners points. He might now lose that spot with a bad day, and Sarah Kirchner back in 42nd in that number 4 car was well off the pace all day long here in New Hampshire. We look at the points now after the 17th race, and for Keyshawn Richardson, the 2nd straight race where some drivers behind him in points like Evans and Atkins and Kukulon were able to run him down. But the big news, Trey, is that he was able to extend that gap just a little bit over Matthew Burnett, who had an even worse day than Keyshawn Richardson.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help him here as long as he keeps his car clean during these upcoming races. I mean, any little bit helps, Joe.
Yeah, he has a pretty big points gap as mentioned at the start of the race, so he can afford some of these 11th to 15th place finishes to where he might lose some points to those behind him, but he's not going to lose enough to where he'll have to start worrying about that points gap. And we know that 99 team is very fast and they can get some good results out, and we'll see what they can do next race, because next race could be one of those wild card races. We're going road racing for the 2nd time this season at the Road America racetrack in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Pepsi 500K. Trey, that race last season was very competitive with Lathan Strickland on pole, but then Brett Sierra passing on the racetrack, and we'll have to see, Trey, if the 2nd race at Road America in the Winston Cup Series could be just as good as that first one was.
Yeah, was that the one where Lathan hit in the pit road?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. He's I bet you he's not looking forward to that.
He'll be looking out for that pit wall this season. He knows exactly where it is. He probably has its coordinates marked out. He'll know exactly.
I bet you he knows where it is. He definitely knows where it's at.
Well, tune in for that race next week on JRTV for the Pepsi 500K at Road America. But today, it's all about Zachary DeLello, his first win of the season in the number 97 here at New Hampshire. For Trey Bardo, I'm Joe Rokowski. So long from the New England 300, and tune in next week for the 2nd road course race of the 2002 season.